Hello, today I'm gonna give you some tips and tricks about Booleans and surface modeling in general. Um, so let's start with the number of bevels you are setting on your beveled object. For example, by default in RDops, the number of bevel is 3, which is not really good practice because you can see that here, if your object is textured, you get some artifacts here. So the tip to solve this problem is simply to increase the number of bevel to an even number, and now the scene is fixed. It happens because when you are an uneven number of an odd number of bevels, Blender doesn't know which one is supposed to take as the centered one, so it does a bit of um, random random selection. Another tip, especially for bevel and boolean at the same time, when you have a cube like this, this one is set to have the bevel weight as a limit method. So if I want to add another cube to subtract some matter, I can see that now, for example, this is everything that is cut off is sharp. But what if I want that any of these angles are now smoothed? Well, there's two solutions. Is one is to change the limit method to angle, but I don't want to use this method. Instead, I'll simply take the Boolean object and select the edges I want smooth and set them to sharp, and you now have your beveled object. However, unfortunately, it creates some artifacts. But it's even worse if you change your number to an odd number. So keep it hidden. The other tip I'm gonna give you about UVs and booleans is that, for example, if you want to keep your model very undestructive, but you want to have UVs on it, then you'll face a problem because you can't UV your object this way. If you want to put some UVs on the inside, the tip is to take this object and try to make it fit at the very near of the surface, and now you can take it and unwrap it. You can then take an add-on like textile density checker and calculate the TD, copy the TD, and set TD. Oops, sorry. I'm going back on this because I just noticed that the textile density is not the same. Simply because I just forgot to apply the scale of the cube. And now if you get this one and textile density, okay, and put to it, set my TD, no, it's okay. It's almost the same as this 1-bit scale, yeah. This is not the real method to UV something, but it can just allow you to preview some textures until you apply all your modifiers and etc. Another tip about UVs is the difference between slide and move. So, for example, if I slide this vertex along the edges, the UV doesn't move. However, if I take the move tool, the UVs get deformed. So some operators rely on moving the vertex instead of sliding the vertex. So I don't really know how Master Xeon coded the circle tool, but it happens to change the UVs. So a small tip to get rid of this problem is to cancel that and make a bevel on the vertex. Now you have a quad, but by changing the number of segments, I'm just gonna put this to default. By default you are on 0.5, but by changing this number of segments to, let's say, 12 or whatever, and putting this value, profile value, to 0.0879 75, sorry, you get a perfect circle. I'm not really sure about this value to be the exact one, but it works pretty well at the moment. We're gonna compare this with a real circle and see what it does. Let's make a circle, scale it down. Yeah, it's pretty close, if not perfect. Another quick tip about the shapes and changing the size is that you cannot scale them this way, because as the same problem as before, it just screws the UVs. What you can do when you have something like this is instead of deleting the faces in the middle and redoing them, you can simply press F and it will automatically fill it with a handgun. And from now on, we can try to do two things. We can try to edge slide it, but it will behave a bit weirdly. So we're gonna use another method, which is insetting the things. Yep, sorry. Yep, press. Yeah, inserting the things. So I'm gonna insert it, and you can see that now I have changed the diameter of the thing, and you can now select everything here and there and press G twice and change the size right here. However, if you go further than this the original diameter of the circle, you try to wrap to the other nearby edges. So the solution here is either to press Alt when you have your circle selected, and it will toggle the clamping of the edge slide, or you can press C and it will make it the same way. The other way is simply to poke the face and do select boundary loop, and then you can also do it this way. This tip is more about general modeling tip, but sometimes you want to edit a part, but you have to hide everything except the part you have selected. I see often people just selecting their thing and pressing Ctrl I and H to hide the part they don't want to see. Actually, you have already a shortcut for this. It's Shift H, and so it avoids you extra manipulation. Okay, I have another quick tip about cylinders and stuff. I wanted to show you how to create a spherical shape out of this, but during the recording I encountered a problem. I'll quickly show you what happened. So I'm just gonna press F to merge all the spaces into one. I'm gonna extrude the face until it's taller than the radius of the shape. And now I'm gonna show you the technique to get the dome. However, it won't work for one reason, and it's because the way we created the circle. So if I press B to create my dome, you can see that it doesn't go up until the end because of this. And why? Because when we created the circle, the value I entered 0.0875 was not the exact value, so there was a bit of convergence for the. I think I should have put it a bit higher, so it would be a bit rounder. So the way we are gonna solve this is simply by cancelling this, and we want all the circle to be circular. So we're gonna use loop tool for this, but I don't want to have to select every edge of this parts right here because it's time consuming. And so I'll show you a quick way to do this. We're just gonna select everything and take the face selection mode. We're gonna select all the edge loop here and use select boundary loop. We now have the top loop and the bottom loop all around. And now we're just gonna do loop tools and circle. If we select this face now and press Ctrl B, we have our perfect dome. Just don't forget to remove all the vertices that have been created. I have a few tips concerning selections. In this case, I want to select every edge loop, edge ring, sorry, from here to here, and here also. Well, I did it by clicking all the way, but what you can do is simply control click, select this one, and use select edge ring, and it will select everything. Another small tip is about how to decimate this kind of structure where you have a lot of quads and edge ring or face rings. One solution is to simply take, for example, all the section you want to decimate and do a checker deselect. You then get 1/2 of your selection. Then you can simply press your favorite thing and use select edge ring, and then you can edge collapse. It will ensure that the edge you dissolved, this ring, goes into there, and this one goes into there this way. However, you won't have to do the manipulation for each ring. All the things I've used with this menu is a small add-on I've done, but you can actually find everything in there, like select edge loops, edge rings, and these ones that are pretty useful For example, if I want to make a region select, I can simply pick this polygon, and by pressing Ctrl and Shift and pressing this one, it will select all the region. But if I want only the loop inside, I can use select boundary loop, and then you can do whatever you want with it.